Ouch! Yeah. Hello, I'm that James guy, and this is my 2015 Ford Fiesta SFE. Now, I bought this thing for $900, but it doesn't run, and it's very broken with a hole through the side of the engine. So, as you can see, I've got it up on the ramps, front wheels off, just gonna start taking the engine out. There's no point in doing anything else here. I want to see the hole for myself through the side of the engine block. So here's the deal. This really rare Fiesta was part of a fuel efficiency package that was offered for I don't know how long with a 1-liter turbocharged EcoBoost 3-cylinder made into a 5-speed. Now you couldn't get this engine with an automatic, which makes this engine very rare in North America. Tons of them in Europe, in the UK, Spain, all around, but trying to find a used engine for this thing. I was lucky enough to get the link for every single 1-liter Ford turbocharged engine in North America, and there's only about 20 of them, and most of them are listed as core, meaning they're broken and barely run, which doesn't make for a very good engine now, does it? Many of them say, yeah, it runs, but barely, and they want $300-400 US for them. The ones that do run, they want like $1,700-1,800 US for them, which is kind of crazy, but it is what it is. So I'm still weighing my options for this thing. Yeah, we'll see. But anyway, let's just get moving on it. Let's get this engine out. I'm gonna start taking stuff apart on the top and the bottom and the sides. This engine doesn't look like it's very difficult to remove, so I'm just going to drop it out the bottom and hope for the best. So we'll see what happens here. So I got the car up in what we'll call first position for engine removal. I got it nice and high on the jack stands, front wheels off. I was able to get the nuts off the end of the axles. I'm going to have to pull the axles out of the hubs. I don't think this is going to be too hard, but I could be wrong. So I found something really fun here. You can see the charge air cooler, intercooler, whatever you want to call it. This is the outlet, and way down there is the inlet from the turbo. There was a lot of oil that came out of there, like an absurd amount of oil. It's passed all the way through here into the intake. There was a little bit of oil here. This turbocharger, I think. So this is our cute little turbocharger here. Intake, outlet, cute little guy. All right, let's see if we can actually take a bit of a look here and see the movement. I'm gonna call that really bad. Let's see if I can get in even more. It's so small, it's so hard to focus on, but yeah, folks, this turbocharger is mangled. So I think maybe what happened here is the turbocharger failed and blew all the oil out, and that's when holes went through sides of engines, when it ran out of oil. Here's the downpipe where the turbo goes. I finally got it out. Here's a little catalytic converter. Downstream up NOx, upstream, or sorry, O2. I'm thinking diesel. Downstream O2 sensor, upstream O2 sensor. That was the direction up in the car. Those two nuts were a little nasty. I had to use my 1/2 inch. I don't really have a good 1/2 inch gun. I only have a plug-in one, like electric. in the wall, but it actually worked. It actually gets me out of some binds, but this was a pain in the butt to get out because the space you have is, you know, not much space for that catalytic converter to go down. This would get installed with the engine whenever we put a new engine in, but now I can finally see the hole in the block. So it is a true story, folks. Let's go ahead and see what we can see there. Let's zoom in. So there's my cylinder block. Maybe some drywall fiberglass and some JB Weld, or no, just kidding. Yeah, so that's that. Oh yeah, I was gonna mention, in order to get stuff out of here, I had to, like this heat shield on front of the exhaust pipe, I actually had to unbolt the AC pump. So the AC pump is just dangling right there by the lines. You can see it's loose. You know what? I don't have an AC machine, but I think the way this thing's all plumbed in here, I could actually leave that there and just drop the engine down. At least that's perhaps my plan. I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, there you have it. Needs a turbo, needs a block. This got a little bit, I wasn't expecting the turbo, so I'm going to show you now how I'm going to get the axle out. I gotta say, this new Milwaukee is something else. Ouch! Oh. Okay, now you gotta spread it a little. Spread the knuckle. You need a bigger pry bar. Let's try it that way. I undid the inner control arm bolts instead of, I couldn't get the pin out from this ball joint here out of the knuckle. So look at that, look at that. It's all moving now because I did that. There it is. Don't want to pound on the end of threads or you'll just mangle them. Okay, that's all loose. Oh good. So now what we can do is we can maybe, oh yeah, perhaps awkwardly, look at that. Okay, good. Axle out. One of the spots where I've been hung up is this fuel line. This is the main fuel line from the fuel tank into the high pressure direct injection pump. This supplies fuel to the rail. Now this fitting, like mysterious. I've been picking away at it with this, pick, and then I just needed to buy the correct tool, which is right here. Yeah, let's get this out. This is an 8mm fuel line release tool, but the problem is it's this gap here. This gap is too small. It won't fit. So I'm gonna have to do some modifications of some sort. Modifications. Off to the grinder. This is the after. You'll notice how much I took out. It fits now, I think. But I guess the real question is, will I be able... Is it too small? Will it actually work? I'm gonna go with no, it doesn't work. That was a large waste of time and money. So a bunch more poking and messing around, and I actually didn't even need my fancy new tool that I spent too much time on. It's kind of pulled apart. I just need to continue to pick at it. I probably have broken it and wrecked it, and it'll need new fuel line. But, you know, this is annoying. This annoys me. Why not make a little squeeze clip that you can pull it off, Ford? Like every other OEM. Ugh. Everything's now disconnected. I think this engine is basically ready to drop. I've been working pretty hard at getting everything disconnected. A couple things I'll note. I mean, you can see down here, I don't have an AC machine. So the AC pump down there is just being bungeed kind of out of the way. It's still hooked up to its lines, which worked out pretty good here. The alternator was just above that. I removed it just so that we could have more clearance when the engine drops down through the bottom. Here, one thing I was gonna do is I was disconnecting all the connectors all over this engine for the wiring harness. I was gonna leave the harness behind, but you know, when they build these cars, the harness actually is part of the engine when it goes into the car. So what I discovered, it makes sense, is these two connectors here that plug into the PCM. These two harnesses actually split apart from each other. One kind of goes out that way into the chassis side, and then you've got the engine side one, which you can see here. There's a connector that goes there into, you know, the lights in the front and stuff. But this actually, I'm going to tie this kind of up on the engine with a bungee. It can actually drop out with the engine. And this one right here, the chassis side one, I'll just bungee it all out of the way. That way it can stay behind and not get in my way as I try and lower this thing out. A few coolant lines and stuff in there. The clutch cable lines you can see, or sorry, the gear shift cables. That's easy stuff. The clutch has a hydraulic actuator in the cab, like a master cylinder in the cab. I just unplugged it. Fluid flew everywhere. That'll have to be bled obviously after, but no problem. And I think everything else is disconnected as far as I can tell here. Let's roll on underneath. I'll show you what I've done. So you can see here, axles are out. This should be able to drop. I'll have to move a little bit ahead to clear this part of the frame here, the subframe or whatever you want to call it. Everything's, you can see my AC pump there, just kind of hanging out of the way. I've got it kind of bungeed, holding it up in that position. So the engine should be able to drop down and forward to clear. The CV axles are out in the subframe. You know, every time I look in here, it's just magnificent. Oh, look at that. You can see the bottom of a connecting rod. Oh, that's neat. That would have been number 2 cylinder. Oh, anyway. Along to the other side. So this big downpipe that went up from the turbo, which you can see kind of the end of it up here, came around, looped around in it, went under there. These two bolts were nuts on the top side were absolutely nasty to get off, but I did get them off. And then on the other side, you know, there's your starter connection, still hooked up because it's just hooked into the harness. Actually, I got a couple more zip ties I might need to cut up there, but otherwise I think I'm just gonna get a jack underneath this thing, and I'm going to do my best to figure out center of gravity on this and just lower it onto the jack, cross my fingers. Maybe I should phone a friend. One more thing I'll note, this silly little plastic coolant line, like a little vent line, it plugged in. One end was to this coolant tank, and to the other end used to go right here where it's broken off. Yeah, super brittle. I basically looked at it and it broke off. Here is an insane jig I just whipped up using a couple blocks of wood and some wood screws. It's going to jack up this engine. So what I plan to do is this is going to fit in the crevice here, kind of like that, with the jack on the bottom of it. We'll see how that works. Ooh. Okay, here we go. Slowly let this thing down. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, well. This whole thing is loose. I might just have to let it down a little bit more. Okay, how's my balance? So the trick was to balance this thing side to side, and that's a really good question. Not balanced side to side underneath here. On top of here, I mean. The engine wanted to tilt down towards the driver's side. So I need to adjust my special jig in order to get the jack more towards that side. I've modified my lifting jig, made out of good old wood. See how it balances out now. Here we go. You know, proper lift would be super good right now. If anybody wants to sponsor me with a lift, oh man, I'd love you forever. Oh, we're up against some air conditioning lines and stuff. Okay. Okay, axles I think have cleared. What might be holding us up suddenly is the AC pump. Doesn't have much room right now. Just move everything over with a hammer. Okay, jack is down. Okay, just a series of blocks under here. I mean, the last little bit, because I don't have the correct lift or anything like that, is just going to be literally the engine falling. We'll just kind of let this engine fall in such a way that it won't hurt anybody. Hey, there we go. It's out. Gosh. That was amazing. So, ow. Okay, that hurt. Careful, folks, this is not recommended. Recommended would be not to do this in your garage in the first place. I heard stories of like Chevy Sprints, people lifting them out by hand, but this thing seems to be a little heavier than that, so that seems good. Yeah, I'm bleeding. Next step is to take a whole bunch of pictures of this thing so that I know what I took off and what I need to leave on when I go ahead and replace it, fix it, whatever I'm going to do. We'll get to that. There it sits on the floor. Let's go over to the car. I'll show you what's remaining. Not a whole lot. Obviously, hey, ABS module hides in that corner. I'd hate to do that with the engine in place. And exhaust system just kind of ended there. Now's the time when I'm going to have to ask for your help. What should I do? As I see it, I have three options. So I can get a running one for maybe 1,500, some are up to 1,800, 1,900 US dollars. Meaning with shipping and everything, we're talking like probably $3,500 or $3,000 to get it here, cross the border, import it, pay all the tax, all that kind of stuff. Second option, I could buy a core or one that's running poorly for maybe 300 US dollars, add some shipping stuff. I could probably get it in my garage for about 1,000 Canadian, but then it's a poorly running engine. I presumably have spare parts on this one that I could use, I guess. I got a hole in the block and a bum turbo. So minimum I need a turbocharger and a block. So maybe I could get one for $1,000, but then how much am I going to spend fixing it? Third option, Ford Motor Company. I can buy a brand new long block, 3 years warranty, which would probably increase the resale value of the car by maybe $1,000, maybe more. I can buy this brand new long block for 4,200 Canadian dollars. That's really tempting. That's way less than I thought, but it's not as fun. You know, it's not as fun. Add a clutch onto that. I don't know how much a turbo from Ford would cost. I'm gonna guess $1,000. So this could cost me $6,000 with gaskets and stuff like that, and taxes and everything in. Probably about 6,000 Canadian dollars for parts. I think I could flip the car then for 8 or 9. So I still have some margin. Plus I have to buy a clutch. Don't have to, but it's got a lot of K on it, so I'd buy a clutch. What do you guys think? What do you think? Please let me know. Please help. And we'll go from there. So if you found this remotely useful or even a tiny bit entertaining, please like the video, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next time.